Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. What I want to do is we're going to take a shift a bit, and this last session was fantastic. I'm going to start off where Thomas left us, which is he talked about two important words that we need to do around research. And what were those two important words? Synthesis and emphasis. And I'm going to add another. It was great. I tweeted it. It was a great line. And I think it's so important in this sea of everything's going on. I'm going to add one more, and I'm going to add engagement. And what I want to do, I'm going to tell you just a little bit about myself and why I'm here, because I'm a little bit different duck than many of the people in the room. My background is I got involved in politics at a very young age. I loved sports as a kid. I was an athlete, and I loved winning. My nickname was Animal. And I still am, actually, a bit of an animal. And I loved winning. And then I went to church every Sunday with my grandmother, which really was the spirit of my sense of community and justice came from church. I'm not religious now, but that sense of sort of justice and support was important. So I wanted to combine the two things that I love the most, winning and helping people. And that's very obvious when you're 12 years old to get involved in politics. Because you get involved in politics, so you have power to make things good. So I did. I got involved in politics. And what I found in the course of politics, both being in government and running for office and helping with elections, is that people were really, really bad at synthesis and emphasis and communicating policies. So I've spent the last 20 years of my life trying to be a bridge between the great stuff that happens with research and the great stuff that people do in government and program, and build the bridges and understand, this is the National Academy of Science, understanding the science and the art of influence and communications. So I want to shift us with that frame a little bit, because now we're at the SDG part where we're talking about implementation. And implementation definitely is like on the ground. What do you need to do? What evidence-based? How do you have measurement and evaluation? But part of implementation as well is actually influencing people and getting people to do anything at all, getting them to care about it. So I'm going to open us up a little bit, thinking, getting out of the research brain a little bit and getting us into the heart, and introducing to you a few tools that those of us who have been working on the SDGs, or global goals, as we like to call them, because SDGs sound like a sexually transmitted disease. They really do, which isn't it's not a good thing. And global goals say one global. This is a universal agenda. This is just not a developing world agenda. This is my agenda. It's global, and that's a goal, and I want to win. So that's why in the folks of us who have been working on communications, we've changed it to global goals. So I want to start with one of the pieces. This is a YouTube channel with global goals. This is great communications people thinking about the art and science of communications and applying that to the global goals. And I'm going to start with this one. We'll just watch this.
If slavery is not wrong, nothing is wrong. No man is good enough to govern another man without the other's consent.
We have to free half of the human race, the women, so that they can help to free the other half.
Non-violence is the greatest force at the disposal of mankind. First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you. Then you win.
How wonderful it is that nobody need wait a single moment before starting to improve the world.
In the course of history, there comes a time when humanity is called to shift to a new level of consciousness. A time when we have to shed our fear and give hope to each other. That time is now.
I refuse to accept the view that mankind is so tragically bound to the starless midnight of racism and war, that the bright daybreak of peace and brotherhood can never become a reality. I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word.
As long as poverty, injustice, and gross inequality persist in our world, none of us can truly rest. Like slavery and apartheid, poverty is not natural. It is man-made, and it can be overcome and eradicated by the actions of human beings. Sometimes it falls upon a generation to be great. You can be that great generation.
So now I'm going to ask you to sort of reach into that place. One of the challenges in communicating is that people think effective communications is about being rational. And if you're a scientist, being rational is a wonderful thing to be. But communications is something deeper. It's about emotions as well. And what I want you all to do, just music. Very exciting. It's another good one we can watch later. What I want you all to do is get a piece of paper in front of you. I'm sure you have one, your studious group. And I want you to think, just for a second, if there's one value that you think represents what ending violence would be in the world, what value we should evoke. It doesn't have to be any of these. It's just people, when I say value, sometimes people don't know what the value, what a value is. It gets confusing. Just take a moment and write down if there's one value that should be the outcome or the driver of ending violence, what would that value be? Write it down. Everyone have something? Yeah? Okay, JJ, what was your value? Understanding. Over here? Go ahead, yeah, just pop it out.
Equality.
Quality. Bonnie. Jacqueline. Bridget. Elizabeth. Patrick. Shelley. Thomas. Arturo. Aubrey, right? Yeah. Yeah? Here. Yeah, go ahead. Siobhan.
Self-worth.
Self-worth. Vicky.
Harmony.
Harmony. Do you have one? Yeah.
Oh, prosperity.
Prosperity. Menton?
Equality.
Equality? In the back? So, did anyone have any observation about that? What else? They were all different. And one thing in communication, is this true? You all may have a different view, but as a movement to end violence, it's very interesting if we're communicating all of these different values. So I just wanted to, they're all great and they're all justified. And what we do as communications people is think about, can we drive one value to underscore and sort of drive the conversation? So I'm going to say one more thing and then I'll introduce the panel. I think a lot about this bridge between what you see on the far right, which are the academics and the researchers and the conferences. A lot of what happens at the National Academy of Sciences, where the evidence comes, where you talk about things that get into RCTs and systematic reviews and all of those critical things to making social change and improving people's lives. And we have to think about so much of the SDGs, it will not get to implementation, as you know, if we stay over there. This is a scheme that shows sort of how you have internal field moving and how you have to move across to build influence to get people to act. We will not achieve the global goals if we don't, influence the people who need to act. So that's what this panel is really about, is bridging the great science, the great work. How are we going to, like Nelson Mandela, be the generation who reaches these goals? This is real stuff, right? So first we're going to start off with a look at the Schiffman framework from Maureen Greenwood Baskin, who has been a real thought partner for many of us on working on violence, thinking about frameworks and organizing and influence. She'll give an overview of the violence movement, particularly violence against children, and talk through some of the factors. If Susan was in the room, she would, she would really get this, because one of the things she'll talk about is, we talked about this in our group yesterday. Who are the leaders? Who are the real standout leaders? So she'll talk about that. Then we're going to bridge over. We have Africa on the line. Rachel, are you on? Can you hear me? We have Rachel.
Yes, I can hear you.
Hi, Rachel. How are you? Not exciting.
Hi, I'm fine, and hi, everybody.
We have a voice from afar. So Rachel will then move into this policy research implementation. She's based in Africa, does a lot of work working on implementation, working with DFID, doing original research. She's going to talk about the SDGs in the context of violence against women. Then I thought it was really important to have one of my favorite men in the world who works on violence against women, Andrew Morrison, who's at the Inter-American Development Bank, who will talk about sort of from the bank what's going on in violence against women, a little bit of a Latin American view of what's going on when it comes to that in connection to the SDGs. And then we'll wrap it up with my friend and a real mentor to me, Joanna Rubinstein, who will talk about advocacy and what the community needs to do to bring all of this research to action. Not in the room today, before I turn over to Maureen, is I work on violence because my value is love. I love working on the hardest, most difficult stuff, because the opposite of pain and violence is love. And I wouldn't be here today if someone wouldn't have mentored me to be here, and that's Jim Mercy, who's a member of the Forum. And I really think in this violence movement, I am trying to get people to join in and get excited and see violence and how they can prevent it in the silos that they work in. And it's quite difficult, I have to say. It's not easy because people turn off. But we should all take, especially as Forum members, think about one person. I was 25 when he met me, and he's really mentored me and really brought me into the movement. We should think about how we can do that. So with that, Maureen.